In-depth analysis of national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Mike's up.
I invest where money never sleeps.
Good morning once again, Lagos. If you just joined us, this is the smoothest style on Lagos Radio. We are Smooth 98.1. It's time for Freshly Pressed 981 with Ayo Mairo Ese.
I'm Kayode Bakerr. Good morning, Lagos.
Lagos, you are welcome to be part of our conversation. As always, you can reach out to us on social media platforms. We'll be sharing the handles and also how you can get to us just in a little bit. But first, though, let's welcome our guests into the studio. We have this morning Mr. Ugo Dre. Good morning, sir.
Hey, morning, sir. How are you?
Fine, good to see you. You can find him at Ugo Dre up on Twitter. And also this morning we have at Funmi Odude. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you too.
I like when we start referring to ourselves in our Twitter handle names. Hi at Funmi Odude. Hi at Ugo Dre.
Yeah, at Funmi Odude up on Twitter as well. And Lagos, you also can reach us on social media.
Yes, at Smooth 981 FM. That's our identity on social media. So please follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook as well. And we're streaming live on YouTube. So please follow us there. So Smooth 981 FM, you find us there. Don't just listen to us, get a feel of the station. Watch us as well. Also, you can send your messages to WhatsApp. WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. All right, let's go on to our first story for today. Popular one here. Already spoke about this, touched on this earlier on during Business Express 981, but it's come up again for Freshly Pressed 981, and it is now the reaction of the Nigerian Medical Association and the National Association of Resident Doctors, as well as the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project and Human Rights Group, who yesterday kicked against or bashed the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, who is a doctor himself, for some statements he made during a television broadcast. Now, very quickly, because a number of people have heard about this story, I'd just like to quote him, and then I'd love for you to take on this for me. He said, when asked about the brain drain and the deliberate recruitment of Nigerian doctors by foreign embassies in Nigeria, he said, who says we don't have enough doctors? We have more than enough. You can quote me. He says, no, I'm not worried about doctors leaving the country. We have surplus. If you have surplus, you export. It happened some years ago here. I was taught chemistry and then it goes by Indian teachers. But so for me, do you think when we have, surplus, we should export?
Yes. At first I was of the opinion that, we have ministers that don't live in the reality of what the average Nigerian is experiencing. But I think I'm beginning to agree with Ugo Dre that it's not as if they don't understand what's going on. I think they just deliberately choose to ignore the problem. Like, I don't have to work anyways. I can sort myself out. I can travel out for my
Are you
medical.
talking about the health problem or the employment problem?
You see, the thing is that statements like this is not the first. So we have ministers that have come out with this kind of statement,
yes.
Sweeping with one careless statement the challenges that we're facing.
Yes.
And so this is another statement in a series of statements that we've seen from different ministers. And this particular statement is very sad because it's been an issue that everybody has been calling out in respect of. If you look at the response of both the NMA and the MDCAN, and it captures it adequately. So the president of the NMA said that Nigeria is falling behind in the WHO's doctor-patient ratio recommendation, and that the WHO has stated that for optimal health care to be achieved, the doctor-patient ratio should be about 1 to 600.
Yeah.
Right now, we have 40,000 doctors taking care of 200 million people. And so that is the statistics that we have right now. And then if you look at all the health challenges that we have one of the highest maternal mortality rates.
Yeah.
We have issues regarding vaccine preventable diseases that we are just not sorting out. I mean, anybody that says that the health sector is not in trouble is...
All right, now very quickly, apart from the health sector being in trouble, and the reason why the presenter asked him, and she noted the fact that she's talking to him in his capacity as Minister of Labour and Employment, because we also look at the conditions of service as well
Yes.
for these doctors. So it's not only a matter of we have so many of them, that's why they're moving away. It's also the condition of service. NMA highlighted the fact that some doctors are being owed 10-month salaries.
in some
So
states.
condition of service, which wasn't touched on, just
So
the amount of doctors.
there are two things that that is, should I say, the reason why we have a lot of brain drain: conditions of service and training.
Yes.
And curiously enough, he did mention training, and then his response was, "Is it not good for our doctors to go and get trained, then come back and come and set up medical centers?" And I'm like, no, they are broad. They are good for training your doctors for free and sending them back to you. But so those are the two issues. And so when we sweep those issues away with, oh, we have enough, that means we're not even ready to deal, or should I say the government is not ready to deal with those two problems. So number one is the fact that we don't have enough doctors. Number two is now that the quality, the doctors that we now have, what
looking for real.
Exactly, the quality, if we already know training is a problem. So the quality of the doctors we have left, the frustrating conditions of service they have to deal with, it's already room for disaster.
All right, thank you very
it's a
much.
serious
Like I said,
problem.
it's a troll. It's just a troll.
All right, Ugo, let me come to you for this one. Now, Gombe killing, this doesn't sound like a troll. It's a statement that is quite reassuring, hopefully. But well, the CG, that's the Adamu Abdullahi, has said that he's ordering psychological tests for NSCDC officers. Now, this is following the Gombe killings. This report is from the Punch newspaper. What would you have to say about this, please?
Well, you might as well order psychological tests for anyone who carries arms, or any either policemen, soldiers, all of them. And I don't know. I just think that because if you've been following this story, this was just an argument between the driver and the people, boys that were celebrating Easter, right? Maybe get out of the way, don't get out of the way, and blah, blah. And then he drives his car and then rams into innocent people, killing nine. So does that sound like someone who's psychologically okay, right? So it's just something I can't explain. And earlier when we were downstairs, we were saying, well, maybe it's because we were arming these guys. No, this guy uses car. He doesn't even need to use a gun.
Exactly.
So, and abroad, you actually see this as this is something you do characterize as the terrorist attack.
Okay.
To an extent, right? So, and terrorist attack doesn't necessarily need to be inclined to religion or things like that. It's just pure. This is pure terror. This is what you call terror. Somebody just gets into his car and then rams at people. That's just pure terror. Something like this happened in France some years ago. Pure terror. So I don't know. What this just tells me is that, look, and out there's just so many things that, when you go out every day, you leave your house and you go to work, there's just so many things that you're facing. You're just, probably a minute away from one mad policeman or mad mopo guy or some guy.
I'm glad you mentioned, use the term mad, because a number of people have questioned the psychology of these men with arms.
Yeah.
And number one, commend the quite swift response of the Commandant General of NSCDC to, he talked about psychological testing, retraining, going around sensitizing the officers. But should this be spread across all men in uniform, and like you mentioned earlier on, all officers or everyone?
Yes,
who carries a
yes.
gun?
The funny thing, this guy was not even on duty.
Yes.
He wasn't even driving their car. He was driving his own personal car. And if you look at the way just ordinary, and I call them ordinary because they don't carry guns, LASMA guys, the way they drag your key with you when, maybe you overstep or something, does that look normal? The person gets into your car is moving, and he's struggling with you, struggling with your steering. Does that look normal? Or was it the VIO guys before they got banned? Those guys are not normal. They don't behave like normal people.
Is it?
So I don't know. Perhaps it's the uniform.
Okay, so I was going to say, is it just men in uniform or Nigerians generally who are quite frustrated? Because if you're driving on the streets of Lagos, you question the mental state of the person. Yes, of the person driving beside. So people are angry. People are upset. There's aggravation. Do you think that's perhaps something to look at, not just the men in uniform?
Well, I know that I read sometime last year or so. I can't remember where I found that article, and it was actually questioning the state of mind of a lot of Nigerians. And there's just a lot of factors. There's a lot of poverty. the heat wave is there, and then there's a lot of traffic. So every day you get out, there's just something.
There are a lot
that
of
just
angry
frustrates
people
you.
on
So
the road.
you're upset, you're angry at people, and then you start to ask yourself like, what's making? But the irony of it as well is that, and then people are actually, if you go out in the evening, people are out there drinking and happy and partying. So you really can't figure it out, and you're like, where do you find the balance?
Bipolar?
I don't know. Are we all turning bipolar?
So beyond the psychological evaluations, what would you recommend? I mean, because now that's what they're saying.
You know, I think psychological evaluation is very important, but like everything we do here, I don't even know whether the person is even conducting a psychological evaluation psychologically as well. So it's tough. I really don't know. But we face an imminent danger, and it's been happening. People are getting killed, are getting mauled by security officials, people who should protect us. And it's not a joke. This thing is happening, and it's getting out of hand. And this is just some of the symptoms of an economy, of a country that is feeling its people. That's just what's happening.
Can I just quickly add that I don't know if it's a background of the military regime, but
They don't wear uniforms. Same thing.
yeah, but they're
On their
officers.
head.
Thank you very much. Let's take a few comments before we go on to our next story. Please put your names when you send your messages. It helps us able to read your messages out. Austin from Mount 2 Estate says, good morning, team. Controversial in Ngige again. He once said 30K minimum wage is enough for a worker to make a comfortable life. Our hospital are short of specialists, and he says we have surplus. The statement is very unfortunate. Chibuke Osuta says, as in Ngige's statement, it is obvious that our leaders are far removed from the rest of us. I think you mentioned that too for me. But why not, when all of them can go out of Nigeria in a moment and get treated? Probably he thought it was in the UK or US. Thank you very much for your comments. Keep them coming. We'll try to get to as many as possible. Now, still looking at the health sector, Funmi, I'll come to you for as many as possible. Now, still looking at the health sector, Funmi, I'll come to you for this one. World Health Organization lists Nigeria among African countries with fresh measles outbreak.
Very sad. It's sad because you know, measles is one of the things that are preventable. If you're dealing, we already have a lot of diseases that, you know, we don't understand why they get there or how to cure them, but measles shouldn't be a problem anymore. So it all goes back to our health sector. It all goes back to vaccinations, and it all goes back to how much we put for health in our budget. I think it's something that they put for health in our budget. I think it's something that the president of the NMA had mentioned. He mentioned that African head of state had sometimes met in Abuja and declared that at least 15% of the annual budgets of the countries should go to the health sector, and that Nigeria has never gone beyond 6% to the health sector, and that Nigeria has never gone beyond 6% since 2001. The current budget has 3.8% for our health sector. So of course, we're likely to have issues like this. And so because of that, we usually have an emergency response to situations rather than have an emergency response to situations rather than prevent them. So we are good at rallying around when Ebola hits or, you know, when something hits, but we could actually spend less by
tackling beforehand,
preventing them. It's sad that
tackling beforehand,
preventing them. It's sad that we should still be mentioning measles. It's sad that we should still be mentioning tuberculosis. It's sad that we have a high maternal mortality rate. These are things that are quite preventable, but only if we have the political will, which would represent itself, but only if we have the political will, which would represent itself in the budget, in how much we actually give to that sector in the budget.
All right. Thank you very much, indeed, for that one. Ugo, telecoms to NCAA, demolish masts, risk national blackout. Earlier on this week, it was reported, demolish masts, risk national blackout. Earlier on this week, it was reported that the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority had mentioned that they're going to demolish 700 telecoms masts. Well, the telcos have come with a few, reasons why they've come out strongly against this. Can you please take us through this? Why are they saying that they shouldn't have to demolish those masts?
Yeah, so the NCAA and the telecom operators out on, they have been at loggerheads for some time now over payments of fees for their masts. And so what's going on here? Telcos usually, this telco mast, and also depending on how tall it is or how high it is, you have they fall under the radar of the NCAA. You have they fall under the radar of the NCAA, and the NCAA will typically charge their regulatory, fees or what have you. And so, but for the telcos are saying, look, this is usually one-off. So if you tell me, like, for example, the mast to say 50 meters tall, the mast to say 50 meters tall or something, and I pay a fee. It's meant to be a one-off fee. Okay. I've paid it, and that's it. So why do I have to pay it every year? Grown? Did the mast exactly? Has it gone higher than what it was before? I mean, why do I have to pay every year? And then NCAA is saying, well, if you don't pay, we're going to yank off. I mean, why do I have to pay every year? And then NCAA is saying, well, if you don't pay, we're going to yank off all your mast. And then, like, yank it off. Then that means people can't call. You're just gonna, and Nigerians will react, of course, because people can't make calls anymore. This is a national security threat. But the underlying issue here, Ayo, is that I think that there is an issue here, Ayo, is that I think that there's a mindset that is forming between regulators and businesses in Nigeria. It's as if they are in some kind of competition, right? It's as if regulators are competing with the private sector, and regulators are competing with the private sector, and whereas regulators are actually there to enhance the private sector. Their primary role objectives actually to regulate, to aid, to regulate, to ensure that there are policies that can allow private sector to thrive. That's really why they're there. So it's just that to fund some of the activity to thrive. That's really why they're there. So it's just that to fund some of the activities, they also charge fees and just to part fund, because the government still funds a lot of the activities. It's just what you call internal generated funds. So how where do you draw the line where where do you draw the line where you're charging fees, and your fees are basically trying to cripple an entire sector, right? And this is a sector that is expected to grow. This is a sector that is expected to create jobs for Nigerians directly and indirectly. So, and it's something that has been happening across for Nigerians directly and indirectly. So, and it's something that has been happening across, not just with telcos, across industries, where you see businesses going toe to toe with the regulator over fines, and you're like, so who is supposed to make money? I mean, it's the private sector, and you're like, so who is supposed to make money? I mean, it's the private sector that is supposed to make money, or is it the regulatory agency? Like, who is enriching who's? Like, where does this stop? And I think it's something that National Assembly needs to address. Perhaps there probably needs to be an all-encompassing law that sort of addresses fees, fines, and boundaries, that sort of addresses fees, fines, and boundaries around how much you can charge and how it affects companies. Because if you allow this to go on, then you're gonna have a lot of companies shut down. Today it's either you're in your shop, corner shop somewhere, and they come and tell you need to pay TV license or radio license, or you're in your shop, corner shop somewhere, and they come and tell you need to pay TV license or radio license or whatever one thing or the other, and you're wondering, there's just so many, and these are part of the multiple taxes that we're talking about. So that's really the bone of contention. And the telcos are saying, look, we're not going to pay anything. Why do I? Okay, can we sit down and talk? What am I paying for? What exactly am I? It has to be reasonable. And we don't talk. What am I paying for? What exactly am I? It has to be reasonable. And within the ambits of the law.
All right. Thank you very much, Ugo. Just this comment here, RG says, good morning. The test is necessary, and maybe you should start with the NSCDC. That's a psychological test. Remember about 2 weeks ago, an NSCDC chap shot a Korean at the free zone. We need to reduce the number of agencies that publicly carry arms. This thing is like a moving spirit.
All right, thank you very much. Don't forget, still get your messages in if you want to be a part of the conversation. 0809-444-0981. Our next story is from the Vanguard newspaper, and I'm coming to you with this one. We'll go once again. It talks about NYSC. This one. We'll go once again. It talks about NYSC debunking rumors of 31,800 naira stipend for core members. And well, this basically, well, the story reads: National Youth Service Corps has dismissed as fake news reports making rounds on social media that serving core members will be paid 31 rounds on social media that serving core members will be paid 31,800 as monthly stipends following the signing of the new minimum wage into law by President Muhammadu Buhari.
They can debunk all they want. They've increased minimum wage, and at the end of the day, you would have to pay these guys. Minimum wage. I mean that's just it. So, but I mean, to be fair to the NYSC, look, I think they sort of misconstrued their statement. And they're claiming that they didn't come out to say categorically that. They're claiming that they didn't come out to say categorically that they're going to start paying minimum wage. I mean, they're not the ones who pay, government pays. They just basically operate the NYSC scheme.
Okay.
But I mean, I could remember I was serving at one of those times when they did increase minimum wage. It was a small amount then. So times when they did increase minimum wage, it was a small amount then. So back then, and it was a big deal because I remember, I think it was maybe 3,007 or something, and they moved it to 11K or something like that, and everybody was like, it was incredible then because that was like 3 times the amount, and I think it was incredible then because that was like 3 times the amount, and I think they did it, midway into service. Yeah, so they will typically increase it. So you always hope that you're serving whenever they're increasing minimum wage. So eventually, it's a minimum wage, and they would typically and they would typically pay youth corps members a little above the minimum wage. That's been the norm. That's been the norm for some time now. That's what they've done. So the issue now is when, and I'm sure you comment like when is it when I pass out or is it like next month? But President said with immediate effect. Yeah, the law is there and the law says like. But President said with immediate effect. Yeah, the law is there and the law says like. I mean, law didn't really because I read it. I don't think there's any timeline, but the President says look, immediate effect, implement it, and
so we'll see in the coming months.
So you expect it, maybe from May 1, Labor Day, and I guess a lot of ministries will be Labor Day, and I guess a lot of ministries will come out and say, look,
it's a nice Day present.
Sorry, yeah. So if you're serving now, well, Ajibaya to
you. All right, thank you very much for that one. The next story is from the Guardian newspaper. This one says we are not failures. Academics newspaper. This one says we are not failures. Academics fire back, and this comes to you from me. It says a former chairman of Academic Staff Union of Universities and Independent National Commission, INEC, that's Professor Atayo Jega, has come under fire for calling out university lecturers and vice chancellors who are on election duty as returning officers for the commission, saying that they colluded with politicians. With politicians to rig the 2019 general elections.
You know how you see things clearer when you're outside.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a typical example. Exactly. This is a typical example of now seeing clearer since you're on the outside. Example of now seeing clearer since you're on the outside, and his colleagues are not finding it funny at all. So it's for a former INEC chairman to admit that it was rigging. Number one, it's a huge deal.
His own.
It's a huge deal.
His own.
His own would never have been. His own would always be perfect. It's subsequent ones that would have issues. But so his colleagues are taking him out on that, saying no, our university lecturers are men of integrity, and that university lecturers are men of integrity. And that Nigerians seems to always have delight in ridiculing the institutions and all of that. And the professor of Professor Dara of Delta State University actually accused him of hypocrisy, saying that for him to have made such an allegation was an act of hypocrisy, saying that for him to have made such an allegation was an act of hypocrisy, it was disrespectful, and that it is a general statement that criminalizes academics. Well, the truth of the matter is, in almost every sector in Nigeria, I think it's safe to say that there will be bad eggs, there will be good eggs. You will find men of integrity. There will be bad eggs, there will be good eggs. You will find men of integrity, and you will also find the
Not so
not
integrity.
So yes, but the so when you
Integrity.
so yes, but the so when you come out and make statements like that, it's always for what, to what purpose, for what end. So you've called them out, and so what is the purpose of it? What is supposed to be achieved by the statement? What are we going to do better about it? I mean, by the statement, what are we going to do better about it? I mean, 2019 general elections was, I don't know if it's still one of the worst we've had in terms of everything that went wrong, and in terms of the rigging. Organization, rigging, security, so many things. But what is the point behind this statement that you have now made, beyond castigating your colleagues?
So do you think it's possibly calling that it shouldn't be academics that should be used as returning officers, because he actually made that quite popular during his tenure? Should be used as returning officers because he actually made that quite popular during his tenure. Should we then move away from having academics as returning officers?
You know, the truth of the matter is, I think part of the reasons we chose them was we're looking for people, a class of people that we could trust with. Okay. The integrity issue. And so when you look at, okay, if we want to go to people that we can bring in at for this level in the INEC work, who do we look to? What class of what body of people do we look to? And university lecturers and professors are supposed to be
the intellectuals, the academics.
Exactly, they're supposed to be men of integrity. So I don't know who INEC will look to if we have issues, if you're having issues with university lecturers. Don't know.
All right, thank you very much for that one. Our next story comes from Premium Times, and this one comes back to you, Ugo Dre. It says, why we forced our way into the National Assembly. So some members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN, on Wednesday, broke the first gate of National Assembly on Wednesday. The Shiites stormed the main entrance of the legislative complex on Wednesday afternoon and tried to force their way when security officers told them it was impossible to speak with the National Assembly representatives. I mean, the story is quite interesting. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, so followers of Islamic Movement of Nigeria, basically followers of Zaki, who has been held in detention by the government for some years now, they are upset that he was supposed to get medical attention, and then for some reason the government has sort of decided to defer it or to change course. And they were upset about it. They protested, and then they moved their protest to the National Assembly, and that was kind of like a bit of a turning point to me, that they could actually be brazen enough to now go to the National Assembly, which is another arm of government, to protest. And if you recall, so I don't know if it was the last year or 2 years ago, these guys were actually on the streets of Abuja protesting, and they were basically throwing stones and exchanging I don't know what I say, gunfire and stones with security agencies. I don't know if you guys saw that YouTube video last year or last 2 years. So this is something that is getting out of hand, and it appears that every day that passes by, the government is turning exactly into some kind of demagogue, and we have to be very careful about this, or it gets out of hand. And because this basically was how Boko Haram started.
Okay.
And a lot of all these kind of sects, you typically go violent when they all start to rally around one person, one man, and they start to see that person as some kind of god. And when you don't see that person, exactly, when you don't see that person it turns to some kind of mystical being, and then you tend to just rally. It becomes a rallying point for all the frustrations that we talked about earlier on, right? And then, I mean, I just imagine, how can you just, because of one man, everybody just gathers around and just goes to National Assembly to protest and went through the first gate and all of that. So,
and they have threatened worse consequences.
yes, they have.
If the government does not respond to them.
But I mean, government says that they are holding him for security reasons. Not really sure what that means. And some feel that, well, government also feels like if they release him, he might get killed, and that might even make things worse because of the way they handled the is it Yusuf, so the founder of Boko Haram's issue.
Okay.
And at the same time, government in some instances, people feel government feels like the guy's just a threat, probably could pull some kind of votes away from them. I hope that the second time of Buhari's government, they deal with this thing, the way it should be done. The court has already asked that he should be released. So just obey court orders, release him, and then if you want to rearrest him again, if you have reasons
do you think it'd be put on surveillance or something?
Yeah, or some kind of stuff. Are we saying that we don't trust our security apparatus anymore to just secure one person or to contain one person, right? Even though that we don't want to do that by infringing on the person's human rights to move around, but then the law says, the court says, get this guy, allow him to go, so allow him go. But the downside is what we're seeing. We hope that this won't lead to something worse than what we've seen already. So that's just my worry.
All right, thank you very much for that one. We see messages coming in. We'll take them. Once again, don't forget it's 0809-444-0981.
All right, now Forgive Jega says, Yinka, like Funmi rightly said, you see things clearer when you're outside the system. It's like a game of chess where you see all the moves very clearly when you're not playing. For instance, the wreck of REC of Yobe State said in one of the LGAs, there was Boko Haram attacks which delayed the voting process for a while, and afterwards they went back to vote. Now that I find strange because it is on Nigerian. Okota here, after the madness, nobody went back to vote, not to talk of Boko Haram attack. Now that Yobe REC is a professor. Then from Twitter, we have from Agogo Sam, he says, wasn't an agreement signed when the initial, so to the NCAA telco story, when the initial one-off fee to the NCAA was paid? What do the terms of the agreement say? One-off or recurring payments? Anyone who contravenes the agreement, NCAA or telcos, is at fault. Simple.
All right, so our final story is from the Daily Times, and this story comes to you, Funmi. It says reps direct FRSC to arrest trailer drivers over Lagos gridlock. Now, the House of Representatives on Wednesday directed the Federal Road Safety Court to penalize any trailer driver who parks indiscriminately on the Ogolonso-Ebutemeta Road in Lagos, and they also urged the NPA, that's Nigerian Ports Authority, to take advantage of the vacant plots of land along the Ikorodu Road to create modern trailer parks. Will this help?
Well, so these are just sound bites. I mean, so the directing FRSC to arrest drivers and all of that, they just sound like sound bites. Somebody raised the motion on the floor of the house, and let's just tell them to do something. It's ridiculous.
So you feel that it's not going to be implemented?
It's not even a stopgap measure.
I mean, we've had a lot of directives come out, clear the bridge in 2 days. It will be clear for 1 week, and then they are back. I don't know who saw this story. I can't remember what newspaper, or something like an expose, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, about the amount of money the Navy and the policemen make from the gridlock, from having those trailers. So the resolution of this issue is not going to come from arrest of trailer drivers. It's not. It's going to come from a whole. It takes deep thinking. So we already know that they need to have alternative parking. Yes. We already know that we need to have another port. Let's leave. Let's decongest Lagos ports and all of that. So all this
stopgap measures are just stopgap measures.
Are they even stopgap? How long do they last? A week, 2 weeks?
All right.
I don't even call that stopgap measures.
All right, thank you very much, Funmi. Thanks a lot, Ugo, as well. You can find Funmi at Funmi Odude, and I'll give you a new surname there. And then Ugo Dre at Ugo Dre on Twitter. Thank you very much indeed for being a part of the conversation. And thank you, Lagos, for your comments, your contributions on Twitter, on YouTube, and of course on WhatsApp as well. We're going to break right now. When we come back, it will be time for the grapevine here on Smooth 98.1.